You must be a pretty tough duelist to face me. Let's see what you've got. Hey everyone, it's CurlyHairedHero and welcome back to some more Yu-Gi-Oh! The Eternal Duelist Soul. It's time to ticking on this game's final legs. None of that I just said made any sense whatsoever. There were so many different sort of like phrases and sayings that I was trying to say at the same time. When all I really wanted to say is that I'm gonna be done with this game soon. I could have just said that, but I wanted to be a little more eloquent about it. Went ahead and made a big ass mess of that. But yeah. How are you guys? I hope you guys are having a nice day. Want to sort of pick off where I left off last time. Okay. I was talking about how I made my own Dungeons and Dice Monsters game, and it wasn't exactly too elaborate. I don't even think I knew how Dungeons and Dice Monsters worked that well. I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure I probably did, but I don't think I actually knew the game very well until I played it on the GBA, because there's a GBA copy of the game. Well, I don't know if I should say copy. There's a GBA version. Whatever, you know what I mean. And I used to play that. I guess I'm gonna do something really silly here. Probably gonna end up losing the duel because of this, because he might just summon a really strong. He might just, you know, do whatever he wants, get rid of my spells, and then I'm not gonna have anything to show for it. So, but we just got a really strong powered up Wandering Doom. For example, that's probably like Cyber Jar or something like of the sort. You know what? I'm getting impatient, so I'm just gonna use Harvey's Feather Duster. Get rid of that. I was kind of hoping that this deck would be the deck that Yugi used. Yeah, of course. There we go. That Yugi used in his first duel, because that was supposedly his grandfather's deck. But it's not. Clearly, because he doesn't have any Gemini Elves or Penguin Soldiers. I mean, there's a small chance that he possibly did, but I'm extremely sure that he didn't. Alright, so since he played that monster in defense mode, I'm going to assume that it's another effect monster. Yeah, just what I thought. Something that I can't go, or rather, something that couldn't attack me last turn, so that's alright. Alright, so I'm having trouble sometimes when I play this, because I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone. So when I come back to play this, do I wanna? Yeah. When I play this, I sort of think that it's Hearthstone, so I think all monsters have summoning sickness, which means that they can't attack when they're summoning, like, you know, in Hearthstone, and that all monsters, sure, why not. I'm just gonna play super reckless today and just protect a Wandering Doom. All I've got. And I also think that I can summon more than one monster in one turn. Of course, that would get another Axe of Despair. So, for example, last turn I tried to summon my Wall of Illusion alongside my Wandering Doom, and I was about to start checking to see if I had enough mana, but then I stopped myself. So yeah, anyways, for example, in Dungeon Dice Monsters, all the dice have different types of crest, and you sort of either every turn you roll your dice to either A, summon a monster, or B, get some crest. You can do both at the same time. I mean, you can aim for both at the same time, but that's usually what's going to happen. And that's usually what your aim is. So, when you get a crest, it allows you to do a lot of different things. For example, there are magic crests that allow you to use magical effects. There's attack crests that, you know, allow you to attack. So, you actually need that crest. For example, you can be, you know, completely good and like making your way all the way to your opponent's field, and they could have been really unlucky and unable to summon anything. So, you know, you're right there, you moved all your monsters right in front of them. You also need to get a crest to actually move. But yeah, you could have your monsters right in front of them and then not have any attack crest and not be able to do anything, which is really silly. But I think that's, oh, there's defense crest. So every monster has an attack, has their attack points, their defense points, their HP points. It's kind of self-exclamatory. The only difference is that when you battle, you can choose whether or not you want to use your defense which will reduce your opponent's attack by that monster's defense points. So you possibly won't lose any HP, or at least not as much. I think those are all the crests. There might be one more crest that I've completely forgotten about. But primarily that's how it works. And I pretty much only pay attention to the movement crest. And I don't remember if I used to keep count of those things. So I'm not exactly at all sure how the game worked, per se. Like my game, I just know that it sort of worked. It was fine. Oh, that's so bull, because then he's gonna get his own... Oh, well, okay. Never mind. He got his own Gemini health back to his hand, which could easily defeat a Wandering Doom. And possibly turn the duel around, because I didn't really have much else. But, okay.
Your deck's got heart. I see a will to win. You must have made a very tough opponent for Yugi.
Well, sir, I did beat him quite a couple of times, even though he did beat me 99 times technically. But that's just because I really needed to advance the plot, basically. Alright, so let's go ahead and take on... what's his first name again? I think it's... Solomn. There you go. I was going to say Simon, but I was like, no, that's this guy. Let's take on Solomn Muto one more time. I don't know why they call him Truesdale in this game, to be honest.
Are you trying to kill me? Don't you realize how tough dueling can be for someone as old as me?
Which is really interesting, because that's the last name that they gave a character in the second series. What was his first name? I think it was Cyrus. Yeah, the Cyrus family. It was Cyrus Truesdale and Zane Truesdale from GX. In the dub, they decided to give them that name as well. So I don't exactly know why they called Solomn Truesdale in this game, because they kind of, or at least to my recollection, Muto is actually his name. It's Solomn Muto in in the original and in the dub. So I'm not entirely sure what's up with that, but whatever. So yeah. After my Dungeon Dust Monsters game, I sort of started messing around with it. I had like a bunch of little cards that would accompany the monsters and whatnot. And I had sort of like tokens, and you would move around your token on the field and attack your your opponent's life points or whatever. I'm just gonna activate some judgment. And after a while, I had my fun with that, but then it's kind of like, this whole dice stuff is cool, but I wish there was an easier way to do this, and especially since Yu-Gi-Oh! Sort of moved on from the whole dice thing. They only did, it was only that, like, one special, like, episode, or rather 4 episodes that they did that. Shortly after that, they just changed it completely. Or not changed it completely, sorry. They sort of abandoned it completely, aside from a couple of times where you would see Duke and he would duel, which is like once or twice. And he actually had, for example, some of his cards like Orgoff or some card, I don't remember the name, that he used to have in the game. He would have in the actual, card game. So, but yeah, anyways, after seeing all that on the show, seeing them, actually duel with the new rules and stuff, and seeing that Dungeon Dice Monsters wasn't really the new thing, I decided to turn my game into more of a sort of actual Yu-Gi-Oh game. And it was basically just Yu-Gi-Oh! Straight full. Like, I even copied a bunch of the cards. Like, I would just draw them and, add them to my quote-unquote collection. I even had some Pokemon stickers that I won, or sorry, not that I won, that I got from some sort of art thing that my parents got me a couple of years back for some Christmas. It was really random because I wasn't really expecting to get anything that Christmas, because I was sort of old. I was old enough to be like, all right, I know Santa's not real. I know my parents aren't gonna give me shit, and I was kind of like, whatever. I didn't really care too much at the time, but they really just surprised me, and they got me some sort of art kit. I don't really know what it was per se, but it just had like primarily it just had a bunch of stickers. Basically, it had a bunch of Pokemon stickers, a bunch of stickers of all the first 150 Pokemon. And that actually reminds me of another story that I want to try and get into. but I would try and stick them onto my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Or sorry. Well, I would stick them onto pieces of paper, which were my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I would turn them into, you know, quote-unquote Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Oh my god, it looks so silly. Because, like, everything else was, you know, drawn. Like, my drawings weren't horrible, but they were okay. Like, they were passable. And, like, it's just funny looking through the cards, because sometimes it would be that. Like, you know, my quote-unquote art. But then after a while, you'd see, like, a random, like, Pokemon sticker on the card, and it just stood out so much. It was really funny. But yeah, it was just a Yu-Gi-Oh game after that point. I even had, you know, spells and trap cards. Everything was exactly the same. Except for... maybe I created a bunch of my own monsters and stuff like that. But aside from that, everything was the same. And after that, I sort of started messing around more with the sort of card making mechanic. Like, I had a best friend who in DR. This is primarily where I used to make most of my cards. And we would, you know, mess around, because he was the only other person that would actually indulge in my silly little thing. So we would make our own cards and stuff and play, and we would start making our own games as well. For example, I'm pretty sure it was Magic that he was telling me about, but he used to tell me of this other card game he used to play, and I'm pretty sure it was Magic the Gathering. And so we made our own version of Magic the Gathering, which was pretty fun. And we made a couple of other little games here and there. I can't remember them too specifically at the moment, but I know there was one more of them. But primarily we would just, there's that word again, we would just sort of duel each other, and we sort of had like these, I would make like sort of trainer cards. I guess in this case it would be Duelist cards. So we would sort of duel and take on these sort of personas, and we would switch now and then and do a bunch of that. And then eventually I came back here, back to the States, and I obviously didn't have anyone to play with that often. Actually, I lied to him a couple of times and told him, like, yeah, I have a bunch of friends that I play with in America. I play with everyone. I have a group of friends. I can play with my shitty paper cards. It's awesome. I didn't have anyone, so I would kind of just play with myself. Play the game by myself. And I started to sort of make my own game, but more on that next time. See you soon.